The following was recorded in front of a live studio audience at the Studio 21 Podcast Cafe. This is the United Podcast Network.
Welcome to Tell Us Why, a podcast for the financial freedom community. If you're looking to succeed in your quest for financial freedom, make sure you join us every week as we, along with our guests, discuss different stories of success, how they were achieved, and how you can do the same. And of course, we ask them to tell us why. Here are your hosts, Jack and Mike.
Welcome to the Tell Us Why podcast. I'm your host, Jack Darrapple, here alongside my co-host, Mr. Michael Ketcher. What are you laughing at? What did I do?
Just always bringing out the positivity. I love it. Right off the rip.
Trying to liven it up. That's all. That's all. Today we were talking with Catie Lawrence. She is happy. Wow.
That was the worst one even for you.
This is good. This is good. She started Happy Homes Ltd, which is a real estate investment company specializing in custom-built homes, buying and fixing real estate in the Denver metro area.
Love it.
Before we bring Catie in studio, Mike, what's up?
Things are good. We are coming down. We told the community at the start of this, our goal this year was to grow by $10 million in new debt, which purchases, whatever you want to call it. Looks
New
like
debt.
we're going to come in at $15
awesome.
million. So it's been a great year. So can't wait to do reflecting, but as it's winding down, crushing goals, and really looking forward to 2022. What do you got going on?
So mixing it up a little bit. I got two properties that generally don't fit my model, but I mean, I have single families down in Florida.
Don't get shiny object syndrome.
I'm not, but it just seems like such an easy play.
I feel like there's a saying about this. If it's
so-
too good to be true, it's...
Well, it's not easy. It's the bank. One of them is bank owned, so it's going to be
Gotcha.
a pain to get done. But I think it's worth something pursuing because it's literally like 90 feet away from my house.
So what you'll do is you'll go back through our 10-step deal framework, part 1 to part 2 in the Financial Freedom Series, and you'll evaluate it, and then you'll make a decision.
Exactly.
Shout out to Tell Us Why catalog.
Yeah. But so it's been vacant for a while, but it went on the market because I didn't talk to the guy last month when I saw him there about to list it, and I was too afraid to talk to him. So, lesson learned in there.
This is why I yell, people. All right. So
Mike's a talker. I'm not a talker, as you can tell by watching this podcast.
So we are going to get into it.
Chrissy, what are you laughing at?
Yeah, Chris is laughing. Unbelievable guest. First time to give a little tease. They're going through the transition to financial freedom. So it's going to be exciting.
Yeah, I like this a lot.
I think it's going to be great. But first, who do we got to hear from?
Let's bring Keith on board.
People who pay the bills.
Are you sick of being treated like just another number by large insurance companies? Do you want a more personalized experience with somebody that you can trust? With Keith Monteith, that's exactly what you'll get. Keith is an experienced professional who can design an insurance plan tailored to fit your specific needs. With access to over 30 insurance carriers, Keith is able to shop numerous markets to find a price that works for you. So if you want an insurance agent that you can rely on and one that has your best interests at heart, then call or text Keith today on 978-241-2363. That's 978-241-2363. Keith Monty. He'll get you covered.
All right. So in the booming Denver real estate market, Happy Homes Ltd, a real estate investment company, prides itself on bringing quality craftsmanship to every project. Since 2014, Happy Homes Ltd has been finding houses that need quite a bit of love in the Denver and surrounding areas and revitalizing them the right way.
I like that.
Did I nail that?
You did.
That was all right?
Thank you. Makes up for that bad intro read.
Sorry, Catie, but welcome to the Tell Us Why podcast.
Catie, thank you for being here.
Nailed it. You nailed it.
All right.
Mike,
all right.
Jack, thank you so much for having me.
No, we're excited. We are, we kind of tease it a little bit. But the first question we ask everybody, and I think this is going to be an interesting answer, is where are you at today with Happy Homes Ltd? What is going on in your business today?
Yeah, so today we are actively working on a BRRRR. This is our, I think, 8th renovation within the past several years. So we are actively working on that. We have 3 rentals, and we also short-term rent our primary house when we travel. So right now we are in the thick of a
Smart.
project, and Mike, my husband, my co-owner,
Yep.
he also does renovations for friends, referrals. So he's in the middle of a kitchen job. So we have multiple projects going on, but things are good right now.
I like it. That is exciting. And the question I have to ask that jumps out to me right away when we talk about this, actions, not words. All you've heard about for the last 4 to 5 years. You can't invest in Denver. It's too hot. There's no deals.
Yeah,
you can't
been
make it
hearing about
work.
Denver forever.
And here you are crushing it. So that's exciting. I mean, what is that like in the middle of a boom in a city like that? Just what is it going through a hot market like that?
Yeah, no, that's a great point. And again, we hear that all the time. With our company, our goals are to remain small. We don't want to outsource everything, although we're getting to a point where it's okay to outsource some things so we can go live our life.
Yep.
We never had the goals to, I want 100 units. I'm kind of a risk averse person. So remaining small, having your liabilities in check, making sure that we're cash flowing, making sure that we have enough emergency funds, we have enough CapEx expenses, we have enough. Financially, I'm the financial person behind our books because he's the contractor. We all know how that goes.
Yes.
So I think remaining small is our goal and being able to be financially okay with that.
So that leads to I'm assuming the why is built around lifestyle design, but I have to jump in there because I know there's a question you would ask. She just said she's risk averse. What was the thing you wanted to ask her about for someone who's risk averse?
What?
Did she not just transition
into
doing this full time? So talk about that, Miss Risk Averse. Let's touch on that real quick. Tell us about what's going on.
Yeah, so I'm a very risk averse person. About 4 or 5 years ago, I joined a financial group with my girlfriends. We're chatting about money. Oh, I don't understand stocks. I don't understand investing. Well, really, really quickly, we got into the meat of things and started really just diving into, hey, what don't you understand? Let's learn about it. So from a risk averse person, I think making sure that you're learning everything you can about where you want to go is very important. But yeah, September 15th, I put my final notice in. September 15th was my last day at my W-2 job. So I'm in the thick of being without a W-2 income.
Yes.
So that's exciting. Congratulations for that.
That's
this
awesome.
is a big step that a lot of people don't take. So, and that is why we wanted to get you on here. You're in the middle of it. You're going through it. So wanted to give you props for that.
And share with the community.
Clapping.
Yes, we're doing clapping.
There we
Okay,
go.
we're clapping on it.
Financial
Yes.
freedom community. This is what we're all about.
Yes.
So
Yes.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Thank you. It's a long time coming. It's not like, well, I decided to quit my job, so I quit my
I bought a property. I quit.
Yes. Well, staying with that. So back it up real quick. So you've told us where you're at in the business. You've told us you're risk averse. You've transitioned. You want to stay small to balance a lifestyle. So doing this collectively with your spouse, what is your why? What is, because a lot of people, you can get a high paying job. You can stay in that field. You can live maybe an easier path to it. What is the why that made you guys really go forward with this within your journey?
Yeah, so that great question, obviously. So our why is time freedom. We love to adventure. We love to travel. So really that, in a nutshell, that's it. And in my W-2 job, I was remote for 8 years. So you could beg the question, well, you still had a lot of freedom. You're still working from home.
Yeah.
But in corporate America, there's a lot of meetings. There's a lot of deadlines. There's a lot of, you're doing this for someone else, which is okay because it helps me build wealth in the background to get to where I am. But there was still a lot of constraints within that job. And I got to a point where my time and my lifestyle is worth more than having a regular paycheck.
Agreed.
Absolutely, 1,000%. What was it that your wife said? She was empty when she was going to work every day. It was
she felt empty. She felt like
of that nature when she was on the show.
It was just a void kind of going through it. And it's similar to what Catie just said. If you go back and listen to it, is it's not always what you earn, it's what you keep. Yeah. And that also comes back to time. Yeah. And we focus that, we think of it in money and it does apply, but it also goes back to the memories you're making, the way you're leveraging, the lifestyle design and being intentional with your actions. Yeah. At the beginning of this, Catie was kind enough to share that, hey, we're small. I'm going to jump into what I'm really curious about, being selfish. I'm taking all the time, but you also mentioned a way to turn assets into liabilities that directly reflects, I can already pick it out of your time freedom. You mentioned you rent out your primary residence when you're traveling. What is that like from an entrepreneurial and Airbnb standpoint? Because we know that's something huge our community is interested in.
Yeah. So this is something that I actually have been doing since 2006, before house hacking was a thing.
Oh, you're an originator. I like it.
It was just called having a roommate back then. I don't know. I guess I'm just not hip. But back then, since I purchased my first house, 2006, I've always had a roommate. And then I started Airbnb when my roommate moved out, Airbnb a room in my house. So I've been doing this for a long time.
Yep.
So being married and doing it is a little different because Mike doesn't love it. So if anybody is wanting to do this, I would definitely have serious conversations about what are your goals. Is it to get X amount for spending? Is it to get X amount to cover the bills? Is it to get X amount so we can invest? Because you really have to set up the systems. You have to have that conversation with your spouse before you open up your primary home to strangers.
Gary's not having it.
That's a good way to put it. A lot of actionable tips there. But I got to imagine that also, though, supports the travel and the lifestyle and the goals as you're going through it.
Oh, yes. It has paid for my life. Literally it's paid the mortgage. It's paid the utilities, and then it's supplemented vacations. So it really does. I think it's worth it. Again, we're frugal. We are part of the FIRE community, part of the financial independence community. So I live that lifestyle. I don't overspend. Again, risk averse.
Yep.
But the Airbnb has just allowed me to supplement my lifestyle. I was a little bit more sure of things because I'm like, oh, well, we bought a truck camper, a very expensive truck camper, but we're going to Airbnb our house when we travel.
So you're offsetting the cost.
Yeah.
You're making your liabilities, assets are paying for your liabilities. And we talk about that. And
All the time.
great example of the transition,
Fantastic
the thoughtfulness,
example.
working towards the goals, the time freedom, the being intentional. I mean, it's all right there. You can go back and listen to the last 5 minutes. Phenomenal.
So I want to just kind of get into like what helped you arrive at that decision to leave, because I know in a prior podcast episode we had talked, I think it was my episode actually, but people are always asking, or like the FIRE community, like they recommend having 2 times your disposable I think it's like I might be butchering this, but 2 times your disposable income before you can safely leave your job or something like that.
Your burn rate has to be
So I'm not
this,
saying
and-
it was a monthly income, annual income, or anything like that. But I guess what was this is it? What I don't know. What deadline benchmark did you make?
Sure.
Or whatever it is.
The KPIs around, what made
yeah.
you finally take that leap. So I hit our FIRE number, lean FIRE, which I considered FIRE to be 25 times your annual expenses in investments. And because some of our investments, probably about 60% is in real estate, I'm sure people could argue, well, is it? I mean, are you really at FIRE? Your money's tied up in a house. But that's how I looked at it. Our net worth is 25 times our annual expenses. So I felt comfortable leaving the corporate gig. That being said, we have a business that is producing cash flowing. It's cash flowing monthly. I'm also a real estate agent. So there's, I could build that business out, and that's kind of come organically from being in the flipping space and just being in this business. And then the Airbnb, I think kind of you get in this mindset of, oh my gosh, I need that W-2 job to like pay me. Like where am I going to find money if I don't have that job? Well, sky's the limit when you don't have a job.
Yeah.
It makes you start to solve problems very quickly.
Yeah.
And that's the thing too. I love how you guys talk about being intentional with it. Where do you want to go? Okay, set it up and take the steps to get there.
Yes.
And do the things before you take the leap. Like start testing these things out before you take the leap so you can become comfortable.
Just going to one thing that Mike, like originally my intention with real estate was buy 1 property a year for 10 years. And that would be, I would have retired probably like 5 years from now. But one day my episode, whatever, I'm going to that again, but Mike was like, you'll have all this time, like once you leave your job, you'll have all this time to focus on real estate. You can do it 24/7, like you have no other distractions, and you can really expand that business. And that was a conversation. Thank you to you for that. But like when you have that time to solely focus on what you want to do, what you enjoy doing, you can expand. Like I know you want to say smaller. I actually do too, so I want to dig into that a little bit to shut him up for a minute. But like I don't have dreams of owning 1,000 units by any stretch of the imagination. When I can spend enough money to go and do whatever I want, I'm probably out. Like I will have my property manager to handle it. But let's dig into that. Like why don't you want 1,000 units scattered across the country?
Yeah. I think for us, again, I manage all of our rentals. We have a rental right outside Philadelphia. We manage it because we used to live there. So we still have a team. I think when you scale, as long as that's a part of your goals, you have to build a team. You are not going to be able to do everything. Yeah. And not that I'm not a control freak, I swear, but I think right now we are doing everything. And Mike's point is always like, well, when is enough enough? And right now it's enough. Like it's still fun. So I do still want to grow. I do still have ambition to, acquire a couple more properties, potentially some that are dedicated to short-term renting our house or short-term renting. So we don't have to short-term rent our house. Yep. But I think staying small for us is because we have other goals in life. I love to travel. We both love to travel. So doing that, we have family on the East Coast. So, spending more time with them. So I think just keeping it small just means it's manageable. And from a liability perspective, I don't ever want to get over leveraged. Yeah.
That's a real good. Can you expand on that real quick? Because that's something we don't get into. We always talk about the pros. Sure. What would that mean? Zooming back out for a second. So now I realize we should probably do, because we've never had someone touch on it. Can you explain what FIRE means, the FIRE movement? We shouldn't have made that assumption. Listeners would know. And then how that directly ties into leverage and over leverage. Can you touch on those two things?
Sure. So the FIRE community, financial independence, retire early. And again, I don't think I could ever retire. Mm-hmm. It just means to me, the FIRE community means that you have, Jack's point, space to go do what you want to do, work on projects you want to work on. You get to choose. Work for a W-2 is optional. Mm-hmm. So that's what the FIRE community means to me. And from an over leveraging perspective, because we have rentals, I keep probably way too much in cash, but God forbid something happened. I want to make sure I have X amount cap expenses for this property. Well, you just renovated it. What? Nope. Just in case. That is just me. That's a personal thing. I want to have, again, probably way too much cash.
Don't tell us, because me and him are going to start an argument if you say how much you've got sitting around. So different strokes for different folks is where we'll go with that one. And
I mean, there is no right answer.
Well, that's what I was going to say. There is no right answer. And if you listen to what Catie just said, you listen to my perspective and Jack's perspective and other guests we've had on, it's finding what you're comfortable with, going a little outside of that because we grow and we get uncomfortable, but keeping the end in mind, keeping the goal in mind, working towards your why. Hey, my goal is time freedom. We want to be intentional. Okay, so we want to be able to travel. We want multiple streams of income. We want 25 times our living expenses in our net worth. And then we feel we can take this risk. And guess what? Once we take that risk, I can get a little bit more time on the real estate agent transactions. Your partner, your husband, Mike, can take on and be a little bit choosier about what jobs he does. Maybe he's doing more kitchens and baths because they pay a little bit better than laying flooring. You've got all these supplemental streams. You have clarity, which never gets talked about. I don't think we talk about that enough. When you get your best hours of the day, for some people that's the morning, some people that's the evening. Once you have that clarity around, I'm not worried in going to trade my time for money. I'm not leveraging one-to-one. My ROI naturally goes up because you're able to focus and really focus on what really gives you the highest return on your time. So I'm sure you're living that. I'm sure you're experiencing that right now. Is what it sounds like. And that's kind of my biggest takeaway when we make that switch. And the fire movement's huge. Anybody who hasn't been out there, I mean, any resources or anything you would recommend to people to get familiar with that? I know Mr. Money Mustache, Scott
oh my goodness,
Trench.
so many. Hall
touch
of
on that.
Pants Afford Anything podcast. Afford Anything podcast,
Great podcast,
is amazing. Choose FI is also another great podcast.
Yeah. My wife is huge. This is Hannah's cup of tea.
Yeah,
This
yeah,
is
yeah.
be a little bit more conservative, go this way. Yeah, so she's going there.
All right, so we'll move on to our Addicted to Problem Solving segment.
It is
We ready for
time.
that?
Addicted to problem solving. This is where we're going to ask you a question from the community, right?
This is, yep. So this was actually from my meetup last night. I was telling him the group that you were coming on today, and the question that was asked, because of something I said a couple of episodes ago, but what is the catalyst that prompted you to pursue financial freedom / leave your job? The thing that I referenced in the prior episodes was "Fuck This" event by MJ DeMarco. Like that's his something that he has multiple times in.
Something that finally
in his
triggered
books.
you to
Yeah,
transition.
so it's like the trigger that. Was
So-
there anything like that for you?
What was your fuck this event?
Yeah. So in my corporate gig, I was on my 11th boss in 9 years. I was at a conference. I was working from like 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. That's not I didn't regularly do that, but I was traveling for work at a conference, and there's, events, networking events, yada, yada, yada. My boss was calling me at 10:30 p.m. telling me that her boss needed a PowerPoint. Like, I had gotten up early that day to finish it. I had sent it to her. She was talking about changes. I'm like, I'm at a conference. Should I not have come to this? That's okay. I don't need to travel for these things, but where do you want me? I can't.
There's one Catie, there's not two.
That was a huge eye opener. Like, this is crazy.
Yep.
I'm a hard worker. I want to be a hard worker. I was a high earner. I'm not that high, but like enough. And just, oh my goodness, I'm saving so much. I was saving almost 50% of my income because Mike was doing the gig too. I'm like, this is insane.
Yep.
So that was a huge catalyst. Like, okay, I need to get serious about, like, let's start putting the things in motion. Let's start really thinking about leaving.
I like that.
This is
I do
crazy.
like that a lot.
That is
I think we should implement this going forward.
That is a perfect
I like
fuck
that.
this event.
Yeah.
You know what? We should make that a segment. What is your fuck this event? There we go. No one under 16 listen to tell us why. Gonna need some parental advisory warnings. That was great. And as you know, though, perfect example. We started to touch on it. New segment we're implementing because we want to build within the community so much resources, books to share. What is a book or a resource you would share with the Tell Us Why community? What would you recommend?
So I would recommend, because I'm a pretty tactical person, the 12-week year.
Oh, I've never heard of that one. Another new one. I like it. The 12-week year.
This book is so good. It basically teaches you that if you have a goal, focus in on that goal. And to your point, Mike, have the end in mind and plan out 12 weeks in advance, and you will get so much done towards that goal. It's unreal.
It's your quarterly KPI.
And it works.
Yeah,
That is great. That's always good. And
Got it on Amazon right there. I'm
Yeah.
gonna have to pick that up, I think.
we're gonna have to go to that.
It's amazing. Again, I'm a tactical person. I need like all of this, like, shoot for the moon, because even if you fail, you'll land among the stars.
Yeah.
Like, that's lovely, and I do agree with that. But like, okay, how do you shoot for the moon? Do I need to like take lessons about that? Like,
Yes.
Just
Is there a class
I
for
need
that?
steps.
Catie, you're being way too classy. On Tell Us Why, we say that sounds like hope, and hope is not a fucking plan. And that's
hope is not a
what
strategy.
That's
Oh
what
my
we
God.
say.
Yeah.
Gets me going every time. Which that is perfect.
We're still gonna make that a t-shirt.
Yes. So we are going to segue to what we ask every guest, the big three questions. But first, let's hear who the big three is brought to us by.
It's now time for the Big Three segment, brought to you by QS Private Lending. Are you looking to finance your next deal quickly and reliably with less hassle and paperwork? QS Private Lending is one of the oldest and largest hard money lenders to real estate investors in New Hampshire, Massachusetts, and Rhode Island. Our quick and simple short-term loans require no appraisals and have enabled hundreds of builders and investors to profitably acquire and renovate thousands of residential and commercial properties. To experience the QS difference for yourself, call or text Luke Conroy today at 315-323-0250. That's 315-323-0250. QS Private Lending.
All right. So now it is time for the big three.
Pressure's on.
These are the three questions we ask every guest every week. And the first one is, in your opinion, is college worth it?
Oh, boy.
I don't. Well, it depends on what you want to do. A doctor, yes, please go to college.
For all of
learn
us.
I would like my
things
doctor to be
because
educated, yeah.
We've all had surgeries, or we've all had, go learn how to be a doctor.
Yep.
I would honestly say, what do you think you want to do? Because I think there are other ways to do it. Nowadays, there are certificate programs, there's internships, that was literally the most I learned in my internship. 3 months out of the 4.5, I was a 4.5 year college girl. It was a bonus. But yeah, I think it depends on what you want to do. And I think if you're not sure, definitely college is not for you. I think there's other avenues, certificate programs, online learning schools that you should pursue before you get into that college debt.
Yeah, and I think one thing she just said that's fascinating, and maybe we can get you to hop on the Instagram or share with the community tips on what you just said, making that internship. Really, it kind of shows up in your personality now without even just meeting you and going through this, leveraging that for the first time years ago. I'm going to make the most of this experience. Well, what did we just talk about being intentional? She told us she's an intentional person. So even going back to the college experience, a lot of people, internships, I honestly don't remember what I did. I think I got a sales job. I was getting paid. I have no idea.
I work for a financial advisor.
Yeah, of course you did. You probably got coffee. Here she is, Catie being a better person than both of us, being intentional. So that was a great answer, and we'd love to get you to contribute. Which leads to the next one. What is one piece of actionable advice you go back and give your 18-year-old self?
Oh, geez. Stop partying and learn as much as you can about investing, about real estate, and about how to grow your money. Basically growing wealth. And I'm not saying, like Scrooge McDuck, get rich. But time is huge. The compounding effect is a real thing. And I think I was scared because I didn't understand it. So I just didn't look into it.
That's unbelievable. Go back and listen to that 5 times. If you start at 18 versus if you start at 28, we're only talking a decade. The way that can impact your returns, don't even. I know you've talked about this.
Yeah, absolutely. Like again, that book, I keep bringing it up. I'm reading a book with my son right now, and that's one of the things that they mentioned, that if you don't start like investing until you're 30, versus when you start when you're 10 years old, it's
ridiculous.
Millions of dollars of difference, and anybody can start. That's great. All right, hit it with the hard one.
All right, so going to the 90-year-old question, what is one thing you would want your 90-year-old self to say to you?
I would want me to say to me, dang, girl, you did everything you said you would and everything you set out to do. You explored everything to the fullest and you didn't waste a day.
I like that. I like that a lot.
That is really good. I'm not going to lie. These guys keep raising the bar on us. This is getting very hard. Our episodes were terrible looking back now. That was great. Great. And with that, do you have any parting words for the Tell Us Why financial freedom community? Anything you'd like to impart on them?
Yeah. You get to choose. You get to choose your life. You both talk about lifestyle design. And people, I think like, lifestyle design. What the heck does that mean? You get to choose your life. Yes, there are steps, there are actions that you need to take to get there. And once you're there, there are steps and actions you need to take to maintain it. But you get to choose.
That is awesome.
Absolutely right.
Total accountability. Love it.
Tell the people where they can find more information about you.
Yeah, so I'm very active on social media on Instagram. So it's at happy_homes Ltd, or you could go to www.happyhomesltd.com.
Awesome.
All right.
Thank you so much. And where can people learn more about Tell Us Why, Jack?
So if you don't already follow us on social media, you can find us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter. Basically every social media platform there is.
TikTok if Jack ever starts posting.
One day I'm going to do it. We're also on all the Spotify, Stitcher, you handle this one,
iTunes,
because I don't know
podcast,
why I black out for
YouTube. Essentially, anywhere you listen to your podcast, please go check us out, leave a rating and review. And if you want to join us in person, we record most Wednesdays at the Studio 21 Podcast Cafe in Salem, New Hampshire.
All right. We'll wrap it up with a quote of the week. This one's a Bob Marley, actually.
Okay.
The problem today is people don't cherish good people. They try to use them.
Wow, that is deep. That is deep.
Boom. All right. That's it for today. And until next week,
bet on yourself.
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, or callers of this program do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the Studio 21 Podcast Cafe, the United Podcast Network, its partners, or affiliates.